right, what's going on, boys? It's Keg and Coop back with another NASCAR Cup Series pre-race video. This weekend, it's Nashville Speedway for the first time ever on the Cup Series. I think it's the Ally 400, if I'm correct. So
I can't forget it's not the Ally 400 after what we talked about last night.
Right, it's the Ally 400. So I got my boy Coop. We just watched the practice session. I wanted to wait until we were done watching the practice sessions. The lines are temporarily down now, but Coop and I were talking a lot about the race last night. And for subscribers, Coop is going to join later on tonight on the Fightcast. And while that Game 7 is going on in the NBA playoffs, we'll probably get deeper into this race. But my takeaways were Larson, Elliott, and Byron almost had the exact fastest lap time, 2 miles faster than the rest of the field, Coop. So it looks like it's going to be another just Hendrick domination. The one thing I will say is there were a couple surprises to me. As far as the 10-lap consecutive average time, Kyle Larson had the fastest 5-lap time, the fastest 10-lap time, the fastest 15-lap time. But it's worth noting that Tyler Reddick had a really solid 10-lap consecutive average time. Kevin Harvick had a solid 10-lap consecutive average time. Will Byron, as well as he was running, was actually lower than I expected him to be. I think he was like 10th, maybe, as far as the 10th fastest with consecutive lap average times. So I don't know, Coop. It seems like there are a couple flyers in there, like Reddick. Chastain looked really good as far as consecutive lap average time. But, I mean, Hendrick was 2 miles faster than the rest of the field in terms of fastest lap speed. So what were your takeaways from practice?
Well, my first takeaway was exactly what you said. I mean, Hendrick was really, really good. I'm throwing away the 2 mile an hour faster than the field because they were tricked up in their qualifying setups for that lap. And obviously other teams weren't. So not to say that other teams would have been faster than them, but other teams would have come closer than being 2 miles an hour slower than them, if they were in their qualifying package too.
Lap average times mean more anyway.
So, yeah. The one thing that I do like is there was a driver that got better and better throughout practice that you didn't mention that I like. So that's good. Ryan Blaney. He was the only driver, other than the ones that you mentioned, who significantly increased his time, whether it was 1 lap speed, 5 lap speed, or 10 lap speed throughout the practice. But he was the only car other than the ones that you mentioned. And really, it goes back to Chevy again, because like you mentioned, the outliers, Ross Chastain, who has some connections with Hendrick, was fast. And Ricky Stenhouse, who has connections with Hendrick, also was fast. So, Tyler Reddick was also fast, like you mentioned. So the other piece that I liked and took away from the practice was the high line. They were using the high line, and they understand that if they're going to pass, it's going to be on the high side and not on the low side.
That line came in way faster than I thought it would.
Yeah, and it should continue to get better and better and better as we progress towards race time, because there shouldn't be any rain to get rid of it and make them have to start over. They're going to have an Xfinity race here in 45 minutes. that's only going to make that groove come in even more and more and more. So that's very good. But, the whole bottom line for me is going to end up where these cars qualify. It's a moving, thought process this week because of it being a new track and what we're seeing and what we're learning from it. So, my thoughts could change tremendously between today and tomorrow. On other pieces minus Hendrick. I don't think my mind's going to, change on Hendrick and make them worse than what I already feel that they're very good. So it could change for, how the race is going to play out and things of that matter. And also how, passing is going to be. Passing, was tough. But if that top line continues to come in, that's going to help it, as the day goes on. So, we can only hope that top line continues to get better and better and better because that will make the racing better and better and better. Because, last night what we saw in the truck race was basically follow the leader and you couldn't pass, more than a spot or two. And the restarts are extremely, extremely important because that's where you're going to gain the majority of your track position or lose the majority of your track positions.
When you think about, the two best drivers in the sport, I think that drive the high line better than everybody else is Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, you would have to assume Coop, he was plus 275 before practice.
Mm-hmm.
He was the fastest car on the track in every consecutive lap average time. I mean, you would think he's going to get the pole. He might be plus 200, plus 190 when they reopen the line.
Right. Most definitely 100% agree upon you. But I think last night we talked about a betting edge to get off of that, number of whatever it's going to be, plus 175, plus 200, plus 275 of Kyle Larson. If he gets the pole. And, tomorrow, we'll be in the same predicament as what we were today, where we're going to have to wait, probably an hour, or so until the lines open back up after qualifying because they're going to be shut down. And
let me ask you a question. I have only made one NASCAR bet outright pre-race the whole year when we hit Kyle Larson at 10-1 like 3 months ago, right? But I thought about taking the plus 1300 on Will Byron because of how good he's been on mile and a halves. I mean, the last time they were on a concrete track, Hendrick ran 1, 2, 3, 4. And we know that he's fast and we know that he's skilled. But how concerned are you with that 10-lap consecutive average time, like not even being in the top 10? Do you think that's concerning for him?
Well, real quick, first off, back to what I was saying is, when the lines open up tomorrow, if Kyle Larson has the pole, the first bet I'm going to go make will be any driver to win stage 1 and stage 2. Because it's at plus 600. I don't think they'll move that. It's always at plus 600. And I think that's a great way to get off of his lower number.
I think they will move that if he gets the pole.
I don't think so. I don't think they're smart enough. That's just me. I don't think they're smart enough to think of that.
You could be right. But so, I would think that they move that off the 6-1 number.
What do you think they moved to, 5?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm still taking it 5.
I've seen it this year at plus 400, wow. On some of the races this year on DraftKings.
Okay. But anyway,
but I don't know. You could be right. That could just. But
it's the first thing I'm going to look at, anyways. But back to Will Byron. I mean, these practices are so hard to figure out sometimes because all we have to go by is what the announcers are saying. as far as, what they're running as far as their setup goes, and, we don't know if they're practicing, for the long run, if they're practicing for short runs, if they're practicing, with their car setup for qualifying, so on and so forth. Because, we saw, and what's really weird, and I don't remember this prior to COVID, when we had practice week in and week out. All right. But, prior to COVID, you would always see, a handful, maybe 7 or 8 drivers run 20 lap plus runs every week. And you would see almost all of them run 15 lap. And then definitely you saw every single one of them run 10 laps or more. If you go back and look at what we saw today, you didn't see, I don't think half the field ran 10 or more laps. Like, what do they think? I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't even run 10 laps.
10 consecutive laps. They ran more than 10 laps, but 10 consecutive laps. Right. Which just baffles me. I don't understand what their thought process is with that. Because, we talked about this last night, and, I told you I would not be surprised if we saw nothing but green flag runs this entire race, except for the cautions at the end of the stages, because typically, we see less cautions than what we do in truck races, and the truck race had very few cautions to begin with, which makes me think that we're going to see really few cautions tomorrow. So in my mind, you would really want to be setting your car up and seeing what you can do on them long runs. So, but, again, I'm not in the garage. I don't have the brains that these guys do when it comes to setting up cars and things of that nature. But that's just something that, baffles my mind as to why they're not running, 15 to 20 lap consecutive, laps. So, I don't know.
You know what we do, even if there's not a lot of passing tomorrow, right? Which, like me and you talked about last week, you never know because the level of competition is so good. Who knows? There could be passing, but even if there's not, right? We see on those tracks where the high groove really comes into play. Sometimes drivers slip out of that groove, like into the pebbles and hit the wall, and we always see a couple cautions that way.
But what I saw in practice, and again, this doesn't mean it's going to relate to the actual race, but they were running the high groove. But the high groove isn't what you run at like at a Homestead or a Darlington, where you're 3 or 4 inches away from the wall.
Right.
They were like feet away from the wall here. So it's still a high groove, but it's not next to the wall like those races. So, I see what you're saying, but I'm not necessarily worried about that. But to your point, we did see some cars get loose. Chase Elliott comes to mind too, in some of them grooves in the corners and things like that. So, I don't know. It's just so hard to make what we saw out of it today. Martin Truex was just pitiful. Brett Keselowski was one of them drivers that didn't run more than 5 consecutive laps. Like, I don't know what he was thinking. Joey Logano, the same way. I think he might have had 1 10-lap run. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But, I don't know, man. Like,
Kyle
got worse as the practice session went on.
He was like, if you look at his lap average times compared to Larson, I mean, he's like 2 or 3 tenths of a second off.
Yeah. Like he darted up there quickly, but then progressively, fell as the practice session progressed. So
we were talking about Kurt Busch. We were talking about Kurt Busch last night. I mean, the guy only ran 5 consecutive laps. How do you judge? It's impossible.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. And then, it's just an interesting, thing. That I wish I could just sit down and ask Bob Prerace, what are the thoughts about that? Like, do you find that odd, weird, whatever. Maybe I'll ask some other people on Twitter what their thoughts are about it who follow NASCAR and see if they have any inclinations as to why these teams are not running longer practice runs.
So we don't have lines right now, right? But we talked a lot about the race last night. What do you think that you're looking for tomorrow? Now, you said that last night you brought up a really good matchup that I liked, which was Will Byron at even money.
It ain't going to be like that when it opens back up.
Yeah. What do you think it'll be?
I think it'll be more like Will Byron 110, Kyle Busch minus 115. Where I think yesterday was minus 120, Kyle, even money for Byron.
I don't even mind that at minus 110, to be honest.
Yeah.
What top fives and top tens are you going to be looking for? You think Chastain and Reddick are going to run well?
Yeah, I think they're going to run well. I do think they're going to run well. I don't think I can back them in a top 5, but I think possibly a top 10. And I don't know if they were plus money. I'm sure they were plus money for top 10.
Oh, yeah.
But it probably was like 120, 130, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that. Trying to remember some of the stuff we talked about, because we talked about so much last night. The one that I can recall that I like was Ryan Blaney, top 5 plus 400. I really liked what I saw out of him today. Progressively getting better and better as the practice went on.
Do you like him to be the top Ford, Ryan Blaney, at 4-1?
Yeah, but off of what I saw today, but I don't know if you can go back to the old adage that Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski were happy with their cars, and that's why they didn't run more than 10 consecutive laps. I don't know, but based off of what I saw, yeah, I do like that. And then ultimately it's going to come down to qualifying position, because if for some reason Blaney qualifies, let's say 21st, and the other ones are, in the top 10 or right outside, I don't know if I'm going to, bet it that way then.
Fucking Twatty says, I was going to bet NASCAR today, but I decided to get my bone marrow instead. Fucking
guy just hates money.
I mean, the one and only Twatty Latte. They broke the mold. Now, we kind of like Kyle Busch to be the top Toyota last night, too, at plus 220. How do you feel about that after practice?
I don't feel good about it at all. To be quite honest with you, if I was betting the top Toyota, I would just take my money and put it on Chris Bell at plus 1,600, because I think he has just as good of a chance as the other ones.
Yeah.
At a much better number. So, and I wouldn't put a lot of units on it whatsoever, no matter who it was. So
you think Ricky Stenhouse could break the top 10? That'll be a good price.
Yeah. Based upon what we saw today. Yeah. Stenhouse was solid, him and Chastain. Ryan Newman progressively got better throughout the practice also. Which is interesting. Some of the other, lower drivers like Daniel Suarez was, uneventful today. I guess Toyota just in general. So I don't know. We'll get something out of the Xfinity race. I don't know how much we're going to get out of the Xfinity race because, Kyle Busch is probably going to take off and dog everybody. And it's going to be hard to see. But what I want to see from the Xfinity race is, can a driver who has a solid piece of car drive from 8th to 3rd or from 15th to 7th? Because we didn't see that in the truck race last night. I want to know if that happens today. Because, if that happens today, then I'm sure we can see it tomorrow. But if it doesn't happen today, then, it leaves my doubts to, will it happen tomorrow? Because the passing was, hard. And I think, it'll be interesting to see today if there's any 2-tire stops, because we saw last night in that truck race, tires didn't mean a lot. Enfinger had 19 lap old tires, and it took almost 60 laps for Prerace to pass him on new tires. So tires don't mean much, and I can guarantee you that these NASCAR teams are seeing what Kyle Larson did today, and they're already saying, all right, what kind of strategy do I have to play to beat him? Because if I just run around the track and try to pass him, I ain't going to have a chance in hell.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have some type of different strategy, whether it's a pit strategy, whether it's a 2-tire stop strategy, I don't know. But I guarantee you that's what they're planning out. How can I beat Kyle Larson on strategy? Because I can't beat him on speed.
I think you bring up a great point, bro. Like, from what we saw in practice, first of all, in the last 5 races, Larson has finished second in 3 of them, and he's won 2. And the other 3 Hendrick cars have run 1, 2, 3, 4, or all of them in the top 5. I think 5 out of the last 7, something like that. So we're at the point where you have to assume that those Hendrick cars are probably all going to be in the top 5 at the end of the race, unless exactly what you said. Like, race teams just start to realize that there is no way we can just run with them traditionally, pit stop like everybody else does, and beat them. And so, like, do you think we're going to start to see, like, 2-tire stops late, gas only, things like that to beat this race team?
Oh yeah, most definitely, because we saw that in the truck race, tires didn't matter, so they're going to try that. And then coming up next weekend, we have Pocono, another track that is famous for strategy calls and pitting in different cycles and 2 tires and things of that nature. So I most definitely think that in the next couple of weeks, starting tomorrow, strategy is going to become vital.
All right, boys. So the lines are down right now, but anybody that's a subscriber, Coop and I will be talking about this like all night long after 9:00 tonight. So for the purposes of the video, I did put a play on the spreadsheet for the Xfinity race. We took Kyle Busch at -145. I just don't see how he loses unless he gets like a flat tire or a pit road speeding penalty, something like that. So we bet him as a starting point at -145. And then if we have to hop in on somebody else live, we will. If not, we'll just pick up the unit. So I'm going to be live after Joey does the MLB video for subscribers while the Xfinity race is going on. So I'll be able to live bet with the subscribers. But for the people that aren't subscribers, we took Kyle Busch -145 to win the Tennessee Lottery 250. That's going to start in about 10 minutes. So
what you were just talking about with Kyle Busch, basically the same way with Kyle Larson. It's becoming that way for him in the Cup Series. So it'll be interesting to see, if these Xfinity drivers, what kind of strategy they put in play, because again, they're not going to be able to beat Kyle Busch on speed today. So I think, it's a good idea to watch that race and to see what type of strategy is played out. Hopefully we do see some, because that's the only way they're going to beat Kyle Busch today, unless he beats himself.
One thing that I have decided now after last week where I got fucked and I didn't get the best price, Kyle Larson's going to be plus 300, plus 250, basically in all these races for the next 2 months. So if I see him at any point in the race at plus 500 or higher, I'm betting him automatically. and I'll eat the unit if I have to, because you could have got him at plus 550 last week at one point in that race, and Coop and I passed on it, and we shouldn't have. And we ended up getting in at like plus 175 as a hedge off of Will Byron. But going forward, that's going to be an automatic bet for me for the foreseeable future for this season. And like I said, we'll eat the unit and make money on somebody else if we have to. But you can't pass him up at 5.5 to 1 anymore. Not with the way that he's driving. Just can't do it. So, all right, we're going to take Kyle Busch in the Xfinity race. He's chalk, but he's got the best car by a mile. So, subscribers, Joey's going to do a video right now for you guys, MLB. When he's done, I'll be live for the UFC Fightcast. I'll be on all night long. We got Game 7 tonight, Bucks, Nets. Coop and I will be talking NASCAR and what we're actually going to end up betting on the race. We got the UFC going. We got the US Open going. I mean, it's a great time to be alive, boys, if you're a sports bettor. So,
how many units are you up heading in today?
Say it again, bud.
How many units are you up from the weekend heading into today?
Oh, Coop and I had a 6-unit night last night. We got on those Clippers plus 300. We got on Ryan Preece in the Truck Series. I mean, we're making money, boys. Let's go. All right, so happy Father's Day to everybody that's a dad. Coop is going to be spending the day with the family tomorrow. I'm doing a little daddy-daughter breakfast and lunch tomorrow with my daughter. I'll be on tomorrow. I'll be riding solo, but that's all right. You know, we'll try to do it until Coop comes back next week. And that's it. Joey's gonna be live for subs in about 10 minutes. We hope your action runs pure this weekend, and happy Father's Day, boys. We're out.